Hi, I'm Christian Callahan, and I'm running for State Senate in District 24, which includes Hampton, Hampton Falls, Northampton, Rye, Newcastle, Newington, Greenland, and yes, Portsmouth. First, I'd like to give you a little bit of my background. My family has lived in Portsmouth since 1984. We own a small family business that deals both nationally and internationally. I'm co-owner of that business, and I've enjoyed living in Portsmouth for the last 24 years. I'm running because there are several things that alarm me about the state right now and what's going on in the state. Concord is sending us a message that they're going to spend now and tax later. We are seeing a budget increase of 17.5%. We are seeing deficit spending. It is said that the deficit now could reach 200 million, 300 million, and even as high as 500 million. That's the number from the New Hampshire Center for Public Policy. We are staring down the barrel at this point of an income tax or a sales tax. As I've traveled throughout the district and talked to reps that are running, I've heard them mention an income tax repeatedly. This is something that would be devastating to the New Hampshire economy, not now and not at this time. We are already being taxed on income. If you look at a sales tax, we can only assume that that would create even more recipient towns, and we still have donor towns. If we look at the state's energy policy and our needs, we need to have a policy that is open to all alternative energy and doesn't close the door on one versus the other. We need to allow private industry to make those decisions and see what comes to scale. As far as education, we've been arguing about education funding for the last 12 years. In the last legislative session, the Supreme Court suggested a constitutional amendment for adequate education. The governor supported a constitutional amendment for adequate education, and Republicans supported a constitutional amendment for adequate education. Democrats opposed it, and instead what we have is an adequate education funding bill that now brings back donor towns, increases spending by $100 million, and doesn't properly define where it's going to come from. We need to pass a constitutional amendment so that we can target aid to the neediest towns and the neediest communities, not have donor towns. We were asked a question about UNH's environmental initiatives, and we need to all sit back and applaud UNH for the initiatives that they've taken. UNH ranks in the top 10 for green campuses in the United States and for green initiatives. Specifically, the question about methane, I don't think would be practical in the city. We do not have enough methane to run the buildings. When we're looking at sunflower production, I think we have to also look at an overall Department of Agriculture and the federal government's initiatives and what they're doing as far as funding. And when we look at something like porous concrete or porous or pervious cement, that's something where we could take an initiative right here in the community without legislation by going to UNH, sending the Department of Public Works to learn about it, and make sure that we can do these things in a cost-effective manner. Just the driveway here, right at City Hall, would be an important place where you could look at porous concrete or porous or pervious cement or pavement. We have a runoff situation here where all of the water runs down the hill and runs into an estuary, which increases the nitrogen load, which at the end of the day will also have an adverse effect on eelgrass and other things, which adversely affects things like the fishing community, which we're dependent upon. We have lobstermen, we have other fishermen, gill netters, etc. So when you look at those initiatives, we have to continue to support UNH. We have to continue to support the initiatives that they make. And then we have to look at the studies and see whether we can implement them in a cost-effective manner. We have to go green. It's a nonpartisan issue. And we have to do it as soon as possible for more reasons than we even know at this time. Because as we continue to study the environment, we will find more and more need to embrace environmental initiatives. Thank you.